Good morning, everybody. You ever have one of those days? Well, yeah, unfortunately, I'm having to use my mobile phone as the house broadband again because guess what? I'm just about fed up of BT. Yep, the internet is now working again. Yes! And Jasper's trying to teach himself some extra skateboard tricks. It's ironic that the internet's working again now because we're going to be going to Gigi and Grandpa's in a little bit. And I'm sure they've got working internet. Still, at least when we get home tomorrow, it'll still be working. Fingers crossed. Sophie's just finished on the running machine, and now it's my turn. It's kind of one of those mornings, really. Very exercisey and... no, Sophie's still got a few minutes, so I'll take this opportunity to talk to you about the other thing I wanted to say today, which is the order books are open for the Audi e-tron Quattro, only in Europe, unfortunately. I'm hoping that Audi get a fair few orders, and that helps to encourage them and drive them forwards in terms of actually throwing their weight behind the EVs in general, because as part of the VW group, what we're going to want to see is the longer range offerings from that group really having quite a strong uptake amongst their customers. And if we have that, then I think what's going to happen down the line is there's going to be a significant acceleration in the manufacture of EVs with a sensible range. You know, so not, for example, things like the, what was it, the Honda Clarity EV with 80 miles of range, or the brand new sort of local area city EV that Honda have announced. They didn't say what the range on that would be, but let's face it, it's a kind of inner city EV, so it's probably going to be about 60, 80 miles or something. And it's such a complete and utter stupid move, because honestly, even in a city, right, you want a small car that you can get around in the city, but you also want to be able to use that car to go visit your parents in the countryside 90 miles away or something, and then turn around and drive back. Very tricky to do that in a car with only 80 miles of range or less, or even 100 miles of range. It would be tricky because you would have very little buffer, you know, bit of bad weather, winter time, wind in the wrong direction, and you've got to stop and charge, which on an hour and 20 minutes journey is probably not what most people are going to be willing to accept from their brand new car. So yeah, EV range I think is one of those key things where you've got a really sort of strong dividing line between what people will accept and will buy in significant numbers and what they won't accept and just for the most part, apart from the die-hard EV fans like myself, will just totally avoid. So, and the problem with those low-range EVs is it encourages the auto manufacturers to stick with the current EVs are never going to be a reality because they just don't get any positive engagement from their customers around those vehicles. What they never seem to grasp is the reason they don't get that positive engagement is because the vehicles they're creating actually don't fill most people's needs. Right, hey, now it's time for my run. How far did your run go?
Not for 13 kilometres.
13? Still a lot better than 3. I haven't felt any sort of negative impact from my run yesterday, so I'm hoping I can do maybe 3, a little bit more than 3 at around 10 today. We'll see. Big stretch of ankle. Don't worry, Soph, once I finish the office, garage is next on the list, and then summer house. And get my life sorted for 2018. Oh yeah. A little bit further today. Oh, excellent. Ankle still feels alright as well. Yeah, feels good to have done my run for the day. Oh, and it's nice because it's actually starting to feel like exercise again. Slowly, but you know, we're getting there. I must remember to send my mother a text because, surprise, surprise, we are running quite late. Just trying to cram too much into the day again. Okay, I've just got to load the car and then we're off. And this is actually quite convenient because, well, hang on a minute. We're talking a sec. So this is a good example of what I was saying about minimum range. We're going to be driving about 80 miles. If we had an 80-mile EV, realistically, what with it being winter and raining a little bit, we'd need to stop and charge. And the journey's only like an hour and 20 minutes, so that would be maddeningly annoying. Luckily, we won't have that problem because this car has got quite a bit more than 80 miles worth of range. But that's basically the core issue, and it becomes even worse if you just drive to the local town, which is 45, 50 minutes away. You know, 50 miles each way. Well, you don't want to have to go to the local town with, I need to charge the car in mind. You know, you just want to get in the car and go. That's the whole point. And if you live in cities, like I was saying, you tend to want to go somewhere that's not in the city in your car. Driving around the city is a horrible idea. Really, what you want is a bike or a skateboard or a longboard or an electric longboard or your own feet or the metro or a bus, but you don't want a car not in the centre of a big city. However, you do want a car when you're driving out of the centre of a big city, because taking public transport, depending on where you're going, can, you know, it could be hours and hours and hours, because you've got to do some kind of funky dog leg and change trains and go across here and then catch a bus at the end and a bit of a taxi. It costs a fortune, it takes forever, and carrying the luggage and stuff is not much fun either. Car, that's what they're for. If no petrol or diesel cars existed, then people would just accept the fact that, okay, I have to stop after 40 minutes of driving. That's just the way it is. But petrol and diesel cars do exist. So instead people think, well, why don't I just have a petrol or diesel? That way I can wake up, get in it in the morning and just drive to where I'm going. And I'm not convinced that city charging is going to be an issue. When I spoke to a Model X owner, Ling, in London, he was telling me he basically charges a car once every week or two because it's got a 200-mile range and just basically does a handful of miles a day because, you know, it's the centre of London. Who wants to drive around all day long in the centre of London that isn't a professional taxi driver? Right, speaking of driving, I need to get everyone in the car and get going. They're going to be running out of patience by now, I would have thought. Oh, I have got so much work to do here. Once I've got the rest of the office sorted out, then I can turn my attention to this cataclysmic mess.
Hello.
What are you doing, Cuzzy?
I'm not.
Come on, Silly, let's go. We're going to go see Gigi and Grandpa. It's raining. Beautiful weather, will wonders never cease. Good news is we've got lots of range. We can get all the way there and back if we wanted, which I've done in one day in the past. Again, not something you could do if you had a low range EV. Okay, is it raining? No, don't think so. Time to go in, say hello to my parents. Oh, my whole body's gone to sleep a bit. Oh, it is raining. One of the best things about coming home is Mum's traditional lasagna. Oh, yummy. I'm gonna dig into this. Okay, so I'm just having a quick look at the Audi website to see if I can find out how to order one of the new e-tron all-electric and can't do it. It's suggesting a 3-litre TDI Quattro Tiptronic. Ugh. Yeah. Maybe it's just not available in this country yet. I mean, obviously they're going to launch it in the back end of this year, so, but I'm sure I read somewhere that you could pre-order them. Anyway, one thing I do know for absolute sure is that at £72,000 you are very definitely better off going and getting yourself a Model X. The only time that it would be cheaper to drive this Q7 e-tron with the 3-litre engine is if you only ever do like really short journeys and then you plug it in religiously. So you basically never use the petrol. That way you get the slightly cheaper price of the 3-litre diesel Audi, but you're still driving around on electricity all the time. Who's going to be doing that realistically, having such a tiny like distance that they drive? I suppose some people do, but nobody that I know anyway. In which case, as soon as you start going longer distances, you're much better off having that fully electric drivetrain, because that 156 mpg is going to drop like a stone the second you run out of power in the battery and you just start chugging down the motorway. As it's now sort of sociable family time, oh, I'll tell you just quickly before I go do sociable family time, when I was in the car, it's a really good thing that I you know charged it up and the car had a decent range, and it wasn't one of these 80-mile cars that I was trying to do 75 miles in, because once I'd got 5 miles down the road I realised I'd forgotten my toothbrush, and so we went back to get it obviously. So actually it took us 85 miles to get here. Anyway, I am going now, so I hope you enjoyed today's vlog post. If you have, remember to like it and share it and subscribe if you haven't already, and follow me on Instagram if you don't already, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next instalment of my daily vlog. Bye! Oh, yummy. I'm gonna dig into this. You literally spend your whole life degrading whatever food you just made before anyone has had a chance to eat it. No. I think you just like it when people say, no, it's yummy. Oh, there's a surprise, it's yummy.